Hello there, welcome to the Learning Pro Live. My name's Cath Ellis and today I'm going to continue this discussion on domain names and talk about how you can use it. What's next? You've thought about what domain name you want. What's next? Well, there's quite a few things that you can do and we're going to go through some ideas. So let's jump into this screen. All right, so what can you do with a domain name? Actually, lots of things. And as an e-learning professional, I recommend that one of the first things you do, even if you're not ready to go as a freelancer, even if you're not ready to buy a website or to build a website, is to buy a domain name. But there's actually quite a lot of things that you have to think about. And I don't think a lot of people are talking about it. So I thought I'd jump on and share a video. Now, I know some people are tuning in. Don't be shy. Put some comments below and, tell me where you're tuning in from. What would you like to know about? Have I missed anything out? Anyway, so I'm going to go through some of these things, talking about what you can do with a domain name, building a website, how to do your own custom email, how you could use it for forwarding, and how you could use it for projects such as if you've created some passive income, if you wanted to do some subdomains, what does that mean? Some people, don't even know what that means. Do you have to buy another domain? No, your domain can do multiple things. So let's have a chat about it. All right, so let's start with talking about building websites. Okay, now, Betty's here. Hello, Betty. Tuning in from Detroit. And we got Kathleen, Milwaukee. I knew I'd have all the Americans today. This is too early for Aussies. They're like, nah, working from home. Still in bed. Great to have you guys here. I thought that this would be an interesting conversation to have. So, building websites, okay? It's not just as easy as going out and building a website. Sorry, banging my microphone. There is a little bit of investment that you need to consider at the same time. Hello, Monica from Nebraska. Fantastic. You guys are in summer right now. And you're probably going into the fall. We're going into spring, which is really exciting. So guys, if you've got questions or anything, let me know if there's anything you'd like me to talk about. I just thought this would be a really interesting conversation. So there's a bit of investment that you'll need to do when you buy your domain name. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about it. There's always things that I normally recommend to people. All right. So I have been building websites for years and I've been going through I'm going through a stage right now that I'm wanting to move away from WordPress. Now, WordPress has been a platform that I've used for years, but I've also had problems with it for years. One of my bugbears right now is having to update my plugins nearly every day, having to log in and update a plugin. Now, WordPress is great because it's open source. But I've still had to invest a lot of money into WordPress to get it to where it is. Some of the things that I've had to buy, of course, there's plugins to allow it to do what I want it to do. Sometimes you've got themes that are very restrictive, okay? I've had to buy, obviously, SSL certificates, which are fairly standard everywhere. And, that's just a SSL certificate can go from being free with your domain hosting to if you have a big organization and you're basically going to buy an SSL certificate, which might cost you a couple $100 a year. Malware. Okay, so I pay for a service called Security, right? Now, I'm just going through a few of these things right now, just so you're aware of it. So Security probably cost me about $250 a year, US dollars. Okay. So Securi kind of will do everything I need it to do malware wise, but also security wise. You can also pay for additional things with things like plugins that will allow you to back up your website. All right, so you've got to think about that too. This is if you go in WordPress, right? So you got to pay for something to back up. If you don't have a backup and someone hacks into it, well, it's gone. And to spend years working on something and to lose it is ridiculous. And you've also got to think a little bit about additional plugins and things that you'll need to get to keep the website secure. Now, if you're not going to think about WordPress, and really the thing that is very important is password security, right? No platform is going to stop your website from being hacked, right? But if you go with one of these other services, like, and look, I'm not a massive advocate for them, but these Wix or Squarespace, they have a fairly robust platform that they sit on, which, will help you if there is a possibility of it being hacked. But it all comes down to password security and things like that. All right. The platform that I'm wanting to go to is fairly complex. It's Webflow, right? So it's not the easiest thing to build in. But again, it's on a platform. It's not going to need me to go in, update plugins every day, or worry about it being hacked, right? So Betty's asking about what do I think about Weebly, and I actually don't know much about it, but I believe it's on a platform, and again, it's really going to be, you using some kind of service like LastPass to have a really good, to have a really good password. To protect your website, even have two-factor authentication set on it. But all of these are, they're getting better. They have to get better because there's so much competition right now. Yeah, so Kathleen's, this is my issue, picking a platform and connecting to a domain. All right, well, we're going to talk about this today. I wanted to talk a little bit about, what I've gone through as far as building websites. But I'm going to talk about actually what you do to actually connect it. I'll show you in a minute. So you've got lots of choices there, but what I'd essentially say to you is if you're thinking about starting off and Monica's experiencing the same thing, right? Okay. So if you're considering buying a domain name and using it for a website, whatever platform you're considering using, such as Squarespace or etc., it might be more effective for you to actually buy that domain name through that service. So I'm going to share my screen and show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to jump on something like Squarespace. All right, so see you've got this claim your domain. Oops. All right. So you should actually be able to buy a domain through it. Now I haven't bought domains through here, but let's just have a quick look here at Monica Tripp. Oop. So it's come up here. MonicaTripp.com is gone. I presume that's you, Monica. But you've got different ones here. So these are around Australian, $27. So what will happen is if you decide to go this route, it's probably going to be easier for it to connect your domain to the website. And that's going to be nice and easy, right? Same with, if you went with Wix or Weebly, I presume. So this is making it easier for you to do it. The way that I have been doing it is going through a service, Crazy Domains, and connecting it up this way, right? So I go to Cath Ellis. I want to buy a domain, Cath Ellis. I've got a lot of them, but let's just see what it comes up with. And this is a pretty long-winded way of doing things, guys, right? So, all right, so this is me. Why isn't it showing other options? I didn't ask for just Cath Ellis. So what you would do is you would see the other options that were there. Okay, you'd see the other options that are there, you'd buy it, and you're basically forwarding DNS settings to hostings, okay? And that's that's something you're gonna have to sit and spend time on YouTube, working out, or getting someone to take you through it. Okay, it's a pain in the butt. So if you can find an easier way to do it by buying it through the service and connecting it up, then that's going to be far better for you. There are risks with owning a website. I'm going to tell you a story. I got contacted by a chap who was he was a freelancer, website designer, and he said, my client really likes your website. Can you just make a copy of it and send it to me? And I said, no, that's my IP. And he said, well, we really just like the calculator on it. Can you just make a copy of that and send it to me? And I said, no, I can't. That's my IP. So he's like, oh, well, you're getting a bit upset about this, so I'm actually just going to scrape your website. And he did just that. So he was able to use a tool to basically, and this is what I mean about vulnerabilities in WordPress, scrape the website and then put an exact copy of my website up under his client's name, and just changed his client's name, but it had all my images and everything in it. Now, the thing is, with WordPress, is there's no, there's nothing that's a secret with WordPress, right? So if I just jump back to my desktop here and show you, so I can go, what theme? I'm going to go, what theme is this? Or there's another one, what is this built with, right? And so if I see a website that I like, I can just go put in the domain, and this will tell me what theme I've used. My my internet is really slow, right? So it shows what theme I've used and all the different plugins that I'm using. Well, sometimes it restricts some of them, right? But there's no secret. So if the guy had been nice, I would have just told him, well, this is the theme that I'm using, and that's the plugin that I use to create the bloody calculator, right? But it's because this stuff makes things vulnerable. So just watch out. Think about the decision that you're going to make. Have you got the time to do all of this? So obviously with WordPress, you're going to be paying for really some out of pocket for malware security, backing up, right? So for example, when I go over to Webflow, I won't need to back up my website. And then, you know, I'm paying little things like now on the bottom of my website, I've got this DMCA. So basically, if someone steals something from my website now, I pay this DMCA protection, so they can take it down. And that's exactly what I had to do for the bloke who copied my website. So these are things that you can do. But if you're not ready, that's all right. There's other things that you can do to get you started, right? First thing that I recommend to people is you sort out a custom email. Now, again, that's something that you can do in the back end. And actually, I should probably show you guys what this looks like in the back end. Because it's not just, actually, I should have even spoken about this. It's not just buying a domain name. You need to buy hosting as well. And these are things that you need to think about. So with these Wix and Squarespace, a lot of the time you'll buy a domain name, you'll get hosting, and you'll potentially be given an SSL certificate. But if you go this other route, for example, I use Hostinger, you're going to need to pay for hosting. And, you know, that adds up in itself as well. You might be paying something like $10 a month. All right, so let's just, I've got nothing that's top secret here, so I'm happy to share. So this is my Hostinger. And this Cottonopolis, I'll tell you a story about that in some time. So when you buy a domain name through something like Crazy Domains and you need to forward it, so basically you could buy it from GoDaddy. So Betty, she made me laugh. She says, I bought a site from GoDaddy. They then learned that GoDaddy is the devil, but now I've sold my soul, or site as it were. Too funny. Michelle is appreciating this. So what happens if you buy the domains from Squarespace but then want to move? Is it tied to them? That is a good question. I don't think it is. So let's just go move domain from Squarespace. Let's just say to another. Okay. I believe you can domain transfer. So that's how to transfer Squarespace domain to another Squarespace site. And transferring the domain away from Squarespace. 60 days is you have to have it for more than 60 days. Yeah. Okay. Scroll down and uncheck lock domain. If you don't see lock domain, your domain is already unlocked. If you can't check lock domain, it means your domain is currently in lockdown for the 60-day transfer rule. So I believe you can move things away. I've bought domain names from other vendors and have been able to transfer them, but it's really just Google searching. But I presume that none of these will lock you so much that you can't do it. So DNS, right? So you've got, maybe I shouldn't be showing you guys this, but basically this is this name server that you'll transfer your domain name to. And this is where I do all of these neat little tricks, such as forwarding and subdomains. And I have to do some work as well for my custom email too. So let's just jump back. All right. But normally these, this is called a cPanel, right? So if I just go to hostinger.com and look for just generic hosting, right? So here you go. I've not got a huge business. I've got a number of websites, but I just use this shared web hosting, right? So the first time you go on it, of course, it looks super cheap. But when you click on it, right? So I think I'm on something like premium shared hosting. Right, so you can see here that the more that you buy, the cheaper that it is, right? So you can see here 1 month is $10, 48 months is $2.59, right? So if I go with this one, it's going to be this for a year, for the whole duration. Yeah, so you'll see that they do pretty good deals. And they've got these kind of pressure countdowns as well, but don't worry about them. They always reset. So hosting is who I use. I think there's lots of other great ones as well. But basically, this is where I'll do all of my work on subdomains and things like that and redirects, right? So I'd recommend if you want to buy, like if you're just going to do a Google domain, you're going to do like a Google website, buy it through Google, right? If you're going to do it via a WordPress, if you're going to do it by WordPress, you're going to need your own hosting. So you'll go through something like this. If you're going to go through Squarespace or Wix, just go through them. It's going to be easier for you, right? And then obviously you're going to buy different sources and things like that. But just keep it simple. But buy your domain first. A website is one option that you can do, right? So the second thing I'm going to talk about, now if you guys have questions, just jump in and ask me, right? Custom emails. If I receive an email from Yahoo, Hotmail, I actually don't reply to it. Gmail has more clout, so sometimes I'll reply to someone with a Gmail account. But what I want to see when someone reaches out to me to ask me to do work is a branded domain name. Now, there's different things that you can do to get your branded domain name. I use Google Workspace. However, there's different ways that you can do custom domains. You can do it through the back end of your hosting and use like Popmail, but I find it's a lot of people, and for those of you tuning in, let me know, what are you guys using? Betty, teach me the emails, Betty says. So what do you use right now, Betty? Do you have a branded email? Let me know. So I've done a couple of things in the past where I've actually bought I built a website for a local florist who was doing it hard a little bit with lockdown and really wasn't tech savvy. And I bought her a domain name from, let's just say, Crazy Domains. And then I paid an extra, I think it was $10 a year to give me access to, so if I just go into Crazy Domains. So you're using Gmail. Okay. So Betty says she's using Gmail. Okay. So, but you have your own website, Betty. I'm pretty sure you do. What would you want your email to be? I'm sure I've seen your website. If you ask Betty, right? So let's say you wanted if you ask Betty, right? All you need to do is, there's a few ways you can do it. If you've got hosting right now, with someone like HostGator, they often have a service that you can set up. You can set up email as well. So, but if you don't, you can go to Google ifyouaskbetty.com. So if you're already, Betty, if you asked Betty, okay, so here you go. Let me share my screen. Okay. So I'd once you start in this ecosystem, it is so good, right? So what you'd need to do is go over to Google Workspace. Okay. And they're actually really good. So let's just go to start free trial. Okay, let's get started. So I'm just going to say test, just me. What country are you in? Next. Let me just fill this in. Cath Ellis, current email, cathellis@gmail.com. So does your business have a domain? Right? Yes, I have one that I can use. No, I need one. So yes, I have one that I can use, and it's going to say, what's your email address, right? So I'm just going to go www.cottonopolis.com.au. I'll tell you about that domain name in a minute. Okay. Use this domain name. Email sent to Cottonopolis won't be affected until you set up the email, right? So here it's actually saying if you don't have a domain name, you could buy a domain name yourself, right? So I'm just going to go, I've got one, next. We'll send you the occasional email, okay. We'll send you, right, so just go okay. How will you sign in? So I'm just going to go Cath. And then I'm going to create a password. Right. Now, I'm not going to go any further from here. Oh, I suppose I can. Let me just change my screen. And I'll do my password. Let me go back. Agree and continue. All right. So your Google Workspace account has been created, ready to set up your business account and get cath@cottonopolis.com.au, working with Gmail. We'll walk you through each step. All right, let's just do it. Because until I give them my money, then it doesn't matter, does it? All right, welcome to the admin console. God, this is easier than what it used to be. Okay, so it's going to ask you to verify your domain, right? So if I go verify, so it's going to ask you to do a few things. Now, what I'll say to you is, this used to be a lot more complicated, and good. I'm glad it's helpful, because I'd say, Betty, that this is something you should do way before you start your business. So at least you've kind of got some professional, you can start using this on social media, you can do, so here you go. Before you get started with Google Workspace, we need you to do a quick check to make sure that you own the domain, right? So TXT verification, right? Add verification code to your domain setting. So let's just go continue. Right. So to verify you own Cottonopolis, follow the instructions to add this TXT to your domain setting. A TXT record is a value that Google looks for to confirm that you own Cottonopolis. Don't worry, adding this won't affect your current email or website. So it's saying you've got a couple of options, haven't you? So let's just see. So this is normally where I get stuck, right? So let's just see what other, create a Cname record. So Cname record you create in the back of your hosting, right? Or this TXT. So what's this saying here? Google site verification. I can't remember how I did it. All right, so it's showing if you've got certain hosting. So let's just see. Has it got Wix, Weebly? So let's say it's Weebly. Okay. So it's got instructions on how you can do all of this. All right, so that's Weebly. Squarespace. Okay. You'll need to sign into Squarespace, open the Google Workspace setup tool. Okay, so this is where it gets a little bit complicated. But what I'd say to you is you follow these instructions, and if you get stuck, okay, down here, you've got someone who will jump onto a chat with you. Because this is hard for me to set up without sharing my personal details. But even if you just want to practice this, you're not giving your credit card, so it doesn't matter, and it's not going to lock your account or anything. So have a go with this. And you've got different plans that you can use with Google Workspace as well. So if I just come back here. Right. If you're a small business, right? So like yourself, Betty, right? There's different options that you can buy. Now, I'm just on this business starter. I don't need any more than this. But the other business that I have, because I have a disability business with my wife, and we have nearly 100 staff. So I use this for I hope that was helpful, Betty, because you're so close to getting this set up, and if you get stuck, you just have someone to help you. Okay, but I'll show you what happens once you've got one email and how easy it is for you to add to it. So at the moment, myself as a freelancer, I just use the business starter, right? But what I've got with the other business, in which I've got, we've got a lot of staff, is we use the 1680 plan. And Google are also very good that you can negotiate a lower rate. So we're not paying 1680. And this is Australian dollars, right? So business starter, $8.40 I pay. So if I go into my email, I'm just going to show you. I'm just going to log in to my Gmail so you can see this in the back end. All right. So, all right, let me go back. All right, so okay, so what's really nice about Google Workspace is, if, let's say you've got an idea, Betty, and you're wanting to do, you've bought another product. So, for example, I've bought that Learning Pro, the Learning Pro Live, the Learning Pro Community that I'm using. Okay, and you've also got another domain name, I'm pretty sure. You've got If You Ask Betty, right? So let's say you want to also have an email, If You Ask Betty, that you want to use. So you can actually add, so if I just go to my domains, I've got a number of domains here that I've used. So Cath Ellis, the Learning Conference. So this is one that I built for that. I'm just going to remove that domain. So let's say you've got another product that you're using. So I did that learning conference, right? So I can add domains to this from the back end. And because you've gone through all of that, it's much easier for you to set this up. And this is basically how you'll manage this. So once you've got your domains sorted, right, then you can go, all right, who are my users? So you might have a virtual assistant or someone that you want them to have their own email address. So all you need to do is from the back end, you can add a user, right? So you could, if you had, for example, a virtual assistant called Sam, you can go, all right, I'm going to call them Sam, put their name, sam@cathellis.com, and you'll just add them. You'll buy another license and you'll add them here, and you don't have to go through all that drama again. And now they're on the system, and you can, so now if you think about the Google ecosystem, you've got them as a team member under contacts, and you can allocate them things in Google Drive, and it's just fantastic. So, but we'll keep this small because we're just freelancers, but this is how, once you're in, it's so easy for you to add domains and things like that. It's super, super cool. So I'd recommend that you certainly consider doing a custom email. It gives you so much more clout. And even if you don't set up your website yet, you can do things from the back of Hostinger. Again, jump over to my desktop. Right. Let's say you've bought some kind of hosting plan. You found a cheap one. It's going to be very, very useful for you. So if I just jump down here and talk a little bit about forwarding redirects. Let's see what I've got. Okay, so this is an example of where I have set up a redirect of a Millernote page to the show, which was the learning conference, right? So I've got a number of different domains here that I can use. This was just a test. So basically you can set up a custom redirect from the back here. So let's say you have got a Google Drive, you've got a resume, or you've put something up in Amazon S3, you've got a articulate course that you're wanting to show off. You might even want to forward your domain name to your LinkedIn profile. There's loads of different things that you can do, and you can do it in the back end just like this. So think about that. Think about how you can make use for your domain name, so it's going somewhere before you're even ready. And lots of people do things like put it through to LinkedIn. Some people will put it through to their YouTube channel. So these are just some ideas. Subdomains. Okay, So let's talk about subdomains. I think subdomains are some of the most interesting things that you can do. Now, I'm going to try and show you the easiest way to do this. See, a lot of the programs that we use now, guys, actually have functionality within them that you can set up the subdomains. For example, if I go to, let's think what I can show off as a subdomain. And I've got a couple of different versions of hosting, so I'm trying to think of the best examples to show you. So for example, if I go to Thinkific, all right, so let's say you are wanting to sell your own course, okay? You may have an idea. You're a bit entrepreneurial. You're wanting to sell something, or your domain name, for example. So I can't show you in hosting because I'm using a different hosting for Cath Ellis. But let's say you're wanting to do videos.cathellis.com and have that sent to YouTube, right? You could definitely do that. So all you're needing to do is in the back end of your hosting. So we're going to go to a subdomain, and I'm just going to pretend that Cottonopolis is being used. I know you're probably like, what the hell is Cottonopolis, Cath? I'll tell you in a minute. So let's say it's videos. Okay. Oh, what am I doing? So what you can do is, that would be forwarding. What am I talking about? I'm trying to think where it is. Why isn't it in there? So basically, I'm probably getting a little bit complicated right now. There's essentially a function that allows you to add in DNS zone editor. So all of these kind of MX and, that TXT that I was talking about before, C names. So this is where you do it in here. So let's say I'm being a bit entrepreneurial and I'm wanting to sell a course in the back of Thinkific, and it's going to say customize your domain. Let's see if I can show you. So if I go to settings, site URL, add custom URL. Okay. So it's going to say, what do you want this to be called? And I'll say thelearningpro.academy, right? So it's saying this host does not have a valid Cname record. Follow these instructions. Okay. And it will basically tell you what you need to do. I haven't done this. So you'll go to your DNS. Ooh. This settings here, and you'll add a Cname record, and it will just take you through how to do things like this. So what I'm trying to say in a nutshell, so it's like a vanity URL, absolutely. So having hosting is quite good because you can enhance all of these different products that you own. So the Learning Pro community is Circle. The product is Circle, but I don't want to put an email. I don't want to advertise it. I want to have it called the Learning Pro community. So I bought a URL. So in the back end of nearly all of these products, you can basically follow instructions to add these Cname records, right? And it's very simple. You'll just choose Cname and you'll put in the what it's asking you to do. You'll add the record and it will just update. So this is the way that you can do this. And look, there are so many examples, guys, that I could be on for hours with you. A lot of this is going to be, if you're stuck, you reach out to the product. So you'd reach out to Thinkific and go, I need some help. I can't do this. And they are very, very good. They'll show you how you can do it. But I'm just trying to give you some examples of all of different options that you can do with a domain name, right? I've also had clients, for example, who've bought or who've created a suite of kick-ass courses, right? So I worked for a company that built a kick-ass set of courses, and it was called the Safe Files. And I said, you know, you've built this amazing product. It might be an idea for you to actually buy the domain name and buy all the assets for it. So when you're marketing it, instead of just marketing the company name, you can actually market the product. And this is what I mean, to buy a domain name for, you know, $20 that gives you it will allow you to brand the whole thing is so smart. And basically what you would do in that case is you would buy the domain name and forward that domain name. So if I just jump back over to my desktop, so you would forward the domain name to your landing page on your website, right? So let's say the website's called, you know, the learning something or other.com. You can forward the safe files to the landing page, and it's just much smarter way of marketing your products. I hope this makes sense. Certainly this is the way my mind works, guys. So, you know, I'm hoping that this helps a little bit. But there's many different ways you can do it. Now, you could also, being an entrepreneur, and I know you are, Betty, maybe see a domain name or get an idea and go, I'm going to get on that and I'm going to buy that. And it might be worth something in the future. So, you know, that's what I certainly do. I own absolutely loads of domain names. So Cottonopolis, let me tell you why I've got that. Cottonopolis is is what Manchester in the UK used to be called, right? The cotton industry. And they used to call the workers the little working bees. And I've always thought about what business name I would call myself if, you know, if I was not going to use Cath Ellis. And I have Cottonopolis because I'm like a little working bee, right? All day long, cranking out e-learning. So that is kind of why I own Cottonopolis. but I don't think I'm ever going to use it. I think I'm always just going to be Cath Ellis. So look, I've talked now for nearly 50 minutes, and I hope that this has been some use. So first of all, I'm just going to wrap this up. What you can do with a domain name, you can obviously build a website, right? Good. I'm really glad that this has helped, Kimberly. That's great to know that this has been helpful, because I think it's something that people haven't really gone into a lot of detail about. So yeah, you can build a website, but there's a little bit of money that you're going to have to put behind it. And there's some thought that you're going to have to put behind, you know, where am I going to buy this domain name from? So you've made the decision, I'm going to go with Cath Ellis, or I'm going to go with a business name. How are you going to buy the domain name? And here you go. Betty's kicking goals already. Just created 2 emails, and I added a subdomain. Imposter monster. Fantastic, mate. Boom. So once you own the domain, you don't have to do anything with it, right? But it's good for you to forward it to something. So if I was starting out now, today, I would go buy a domain name, $27, right? And I would forward it. I'd get some cheap hosting, and I'd forward it over to something like LinkedIn, right? It's cathellis.com. Have a go to LinkedIn, right? And I'd buy a custom email so I can start communicating with people. And because I actually think LinkedIn is as good as any portfolio as well. It shows so much about you. And there's no bullshit about LinkedIn, right? So you've got testimonials on there. You can put pieces of work. Shows how you network with people. Shows what you're sharing, right? You can forward a domain, right? You can forward a subdomain. So think about all of these things that I've been talking about. You could set yourself up in such a professional way. Even if you look at the footer of my YouTube, this video, I think even on LinkedIn, I put some custom domains. This will be the last thing that I'll say, right? Oh, there's going to be feedback on this, so let me not click the video I'm using. So I'll go on to this one, global, and just show you, right? So I've got all of these brand names, right? Now what I've actually done with this is, and this looks so much better. So if I wanted to refer TubeBuddy, which is what I use to get all the stats on my videos, right? Is if you look at that URL, TubeBuddy.com Cath Ellis, well, that's actually quite a nice one. But some of these are really long and really quite ugly, and I don't want to advertise this. So I actually use a nice little product called Rebrandly. And what Rebrandly does is it allows me to create vanity. So this is just another option, right? But there are some restrictions with this. So if I want to create a new link, destination URL, I'm just going to go google.com. And the branded domain that I want to use. So when I did the learning conference, we had learningcon.link. I've got cathellis.live. I've got the Learning Pro Live, or I cannot use a custom domain name and just use Rebrandly. It's like Bitly, right? But the nice thing about Rebrandly, and this costs nothing to use, but obviously you can buy domain names through them. So if I use cathellis.live and then I go, create a link, The thing that I think is still the same with Bitly is once this URL is out there, you actually can't change it. So I use this for e-learning all the time. So if I've got a document that may change in the future, I'll use something like Rebrandly so that I can go in and change the URL if I need to, right? So that it will always stay the same, and this will change. And this is actually super cheap, right? So the domain, I was showing this. So if you wanted something with Betty in it, right? Betty link. So that's $18. But some of these are really some of these are really cheap. So Betty click. Certainly for vanity URLs, you know, $2 for the first year. And so that, yes, I just find it so nice. Or if you wanted, you know, obviously, I am Betty. You could do that. So there you go. I hope that this has been some help, guys, because I know when I started, you know, I obviously owned my domain name and I wasn't doing anything like the kind of rich things that I'm doing today. Most products that I sign up to that I'm using, I'll create a nice vanity URL. It just makes you look so much more professional. And if you're not quite ready to take the plunge by having customer email, by having it forwarded to LinkedIn, by you know, creating some subdomains for other services, just make you stand out from the crowd. You know, even having you can upload a PDF of your resume into your hosting and just have resume.cathellis.com, or you can even do not a subdomain, but you could have cathellis.com/resume, different things like that. And obviously, you know, you're not really ranking on using your SEO with these things, but it allows you to kind of have a custom, you know, brand out there, and you can get started. Now, in the next video, I'm going to talk about how you can start branding your business. So I'm going to go live next. I might come live on Friday. I'm not going to promise. I am absolutely the worst, and I've had about 1 million things go wrong in the last 6 months. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Henno. From Brizzy. Hi, are you guys in lockdown right now? We're in lockdown, and it's driving us a bit bonkers, but hey, we're all safe. So it just keeps me busy with this stuff. So I hope that this has covered a lot. I know it's been a long session, but I've covered quite a lot. If you've got any questions, make sure that you put them in the comments below. Please like and subscribe. I've got this new vanity URL here on the top left-hand corner, the Learning Pro Live, thelearningpro.live/join. And in the next session that I go live, I'm going to be inviting people in. So if you guys want to come in and have a chat with me, you can do this. Kimberly says, I need to watch again and give it a try. Are you sharing the recording? Yeah, it is live on LinkedIn. So share it with anyone else who you think is going to benefit. This has gone live on Facebook. It's gone live on YouTube. It's gone live on bloody all over the world. What's it called? Well, whatever Twitter is. So you've got loads of options, Kimberly. You can rewatch it again just on my, I know you're tuning in from LinkedIn. And this is why I'm doing these live streams this way, so that if you guys have questions when I'm live, you can jump in and you can ask me and I can answer it straight away. but you can watch it back whenever you want. So yeah, so the next one I'm going to talk about is going to be how to maybe design a logo, which will be a good one. All right. And again, if you miss it, you can tune in. But I'm doing it at this time. Mondays, Wednesdays, I might try and do Friday, but we'll just see. All right. Have a great day. I have got meetings out the wazoo all day today. And tomorrow is a day called Are You OK Day. So I'm going to be doing a karaoke, which is going to be fun. And we're going to do a trivia, and that's for the staff in my other business. Emailed you first, Cath. Yeah, awesome. All right. Well, have an awesome day, guys. It was brilliant having you here. And yeah, I'll see you guys on the flip side. Bye.